Video game box arts. It's an art form in of itself. However, it's an art form that has faded somewhat. Games and companies still do them for promotional purposes and marketing purposes. But what I mean is that back in the day, video game box arts had to lure you in. Imagine you walked into a video game store back in the 90s or early 2000s, and you start perusing the different games on display, and you stumble across a little gem like this, or this. Maybe something a little bit more approachable like SimCity, or I don't know, motherfucking Doom? God dang. Nowadays, modern games still have amazing box arts. That hasn't changed. Skyrim's box art has this confident minimalism to it. Red Dead Redemption 2 with its striking bold colors. Hell, Grand Theft Auto style posters has become a genre in of itself. And how can we forget motherfucking Doom? Point is, people judge books by their cover, hence why no one has ever been disappointed by Playboy magazines. And the same goes for video games, especially back in the day. And Valve makes games too, apparently, right? Gabe, you still do that, right?
No.
And thus, Valve also makes video game box arts. This is all a very roundabout way for me to say that this is an idiot's attempt at making a tier list for Valve video game box arts. Listen here, sonny boy. There comes a time in every aspiring YouTuber's life when they run out of ideas and they result to making the lowest denominator content possible. In other words, tier lists. But hey, I have a legitimate excuse for making a video like this. You see, I had all 4 of my wisdom teeth removed recently, at the time of this recording 2 days ago, hence the noticeable decrease in wisdom that will occur in this video. That's a joke. There has never been any hint of wisdom or intelligence in any of my videos. So, if I sound a little strange and weird and a little ASMR-y, if that makes sense, it's because I am in a lot of pain, and I can't open my mouth very wide, which is something your mom did for me last night. What, did you think I'm gonna let severe pain stop me from making your mom jokes? Hell no. But yeah, tier lists. In this case, Valve game box arts. I will only be using the official box art covers. In other words, if the game has a Wikipedia page and it's what's being displayed, that's what I'm gonna count as their official cover art. For further context, I have played most of Valve's games. The only ones I haven't played are like Day of Defeat, Ricochet, Alien Swarm. In other words, the Valve games that most people haven't played either. Don't you try to lie to me. Look me straight in the eye and tell me you've played Ricochet. That's right, you haven't. People who play Ricochet are like people from Finland. You're not real. Some of Valve games I've obviously spent more time on compared to others, that's a no-brainer. But that's not really important to the video since I'm purely rating all of these box art covers on a completely subjective, objective opinion. AKA fact, as long as it comes from my mouth, which is in severe pain by the way. Ow. Oh, making this video was a mistake. I will try to explain my reasoning based off how well the art conveys the essence of the game and how pleasing the art is by itself. And if the game or series has a nice looking logo, that's a plus as well. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Hi Internet Wanderer, my name's Arcanax. I make video reviews, essays, commentaries, and shorts. I hope you enjoy my content enough to do all the YouTube things such as liking and subscribing. And special thanks to all the channel members who help keep the channel going. Their contributions and support mean the world to me, and it helps make sure that I keep making content. But enough of all that, let's get back to the topic at hand. So, before I get into this, I have to ask the question, how will I cover this? Do I cover the tier list in terms of games that belong at the bottom, from D tier all the way to S tier, or do I cover the Valve games in order of release? To help me decide, I'm going to look at my YouTube statistics, specifically my subscriber count. If I can get 4,000 subscribers within 1 hour of me staring at this screen, I will cover them in order of release. If I don't, then I'll cry. I mean, cover them from lowest tier to high tier. Alright, let's get it. Nobody subscribed. Oh, that's only the second most painful thing I'll have to endure today, other than talking. Ow. Anyway, the rest of this video will be mostly unscripted, so let's get into the tier list. At the bottom of D tier, I decided to put a bunch of games that I guarantee you almost none of you know, and if you do know about it, it's because I've joked about these games in the past. At the bottom of the tier list, I would have to put Ricochet. Why? Because look at it. Other than telling you what the name of the game is, this box art cover conveys nothing about the game. It doesn't even show like a projectile being bounced off the walls, like to reflect the name, Ricochet. You can literally tell nothing about this game from this box cover. Bottom, worst of the worst. Next up, Alien Swarm. Okay, you can kind of make out some things on this poster, and you can see that Alien Claw kind of mimics the A in Alien Swarm. But that's only because I was looking for these details. This poster is terrible. The light blues mixed with the black does not make for an appealing poster, especially with how it's designed. If you didn't tell me that the name was Alien Swarm, I couldn't even tell you that there was an alien in this poster. And the only reason that I can make out details within this poster is because I'm looking at it zoomed in. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be able to tell shit. Awful, terrible, D tier. Dota Underlords. This one's a little sad for me because I genuinely enjoyed Underlords. Again, I've made a video talking about it, but again, nobody watched that. That's fine. More pain sprinkled on top. Dota Underlords is an auto battler. Unfortunately, the cover art doesn't really convey that aspect. There's no grid, or it doesn't even show the board or anything of the gameplay, other than the fact that the 4 characters on screen are the Underlords, I guess, but unfortunately, these characters don't really stick out. There's no oomph behind this poster. It's just kind of generic, in my opinion. D tier. Now, next up, we're moving into the C tier. And this one might ruffle some feathers, or it might not, because, well, let's be real, you probably don't care. But at the bottom of C tier, fitting with the name, is the Counter-Strike games. Well, more specifically, Counter-Strike Source, Counter-Strike Condition Zero, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Purely just because they're so generic. It's just army guy with M4. The poster uses like white, like light blue and beige. If you didn't know what this poster was, you could swap out the name and call it generic action game, and it would basically be the same thing. Other than the fact that the guy in front of it is a counter-terrorist, and the fact that I guess you use guns, there's nothing really here. For the most part, all Counter-Strike games just kind of have ass box cover arts, with one exception, but I'll cover that later. So bottom of C tier, Counter-Strike games. Most of them. Next up, the original Day of Defeat. It's actually rather weird because the poster by itself is very monotone, with its olive greens and browns. I get it's going for the gritty World War II look, but when you zoom into the picture, the art doesn't actually look that good, if I'm being completely honest. If the game had a more stylistic art style like Team Fortress 2 does, then maybe I can understand the choice of this poster, but it doesn't. It's an old source engine mod turned game, so it doesn't really have a stylistic art style. Needless to say, not very good. Besides, most people don't really care about Day of Defeat, so boom, C tier. Next up, Team Fortress Classic. It shows the TFC Heavy firing his gun at the cameraman, following the school of generic action guy in the front of the cover. Very nice. It's only slightly better than the Counter-Strike box cover arts, purely just because the logo implementation, in my opinion, I'm really just grasping at straws, looking for ways to justify how these different games in C tier are better than one another, because they're really not. If no other good thing can be said about the Team Fortress Classic box cover art, I can at least say that we got the Team Fortress Classic characters from the TF2 comics out of them, so there's a plus. Next up, Deadlock. Deadlock is not even finished. In fact, I'm fairly confident that the box cover art that is being displayed here isn't even the final product, but I'm just going off on what I have here. And at least it captures the setting quite well, but it doesn't also tell anything about the game either. It doesn't really leave much to be desired other than a generic city street with glowing pigeons, I guess. The only reason that I'm putting it above the other ones in this tier level is that, well, I've seen a lot of people use the Deadcock logo, and it's just kind of funny. So, yeah, that's it. Deadcock is funny. Next up, Aperture Desk Job. This one is a tech demo for the Steam Deck, and it's not really a full game, but at least I have to talk about it in the sense of it uses the very bold choice of using coffee brown as its main color. And I guess the fact that you also have Grady, the portal robot eye-looking thing, staring at you. And if you really look into it, you can see that the buttons on the Steam Deck is actually on the sides of the poster on the screen. So there's some nice things going on here, but damn, that coffee brown color is not doing it any favors. So just like the coffee, C tier. Next up, we can finally move to another level, the B tier. At the bottom of B tier, I have Half-Life 2 Episode 1. Here we have Alex Vance, everyone's favorite female companion from Half-Life 2, doing generic video game action pose for the camera. The only reason that I'm not putting it in C tier is because it's Alex, number one, and number two, there is so much bloom in this photo. Oh my goodness, like, I know for a fact that before the Half-Life 2 expansions, Valve added a bunch of engine upgrades to their games, and one of them was HDR and probably some other post-processing effects like bloom, and they really wanted to sell you on that fact, so they slapped Alex onto the cover art and said, crank that shit up, you know what I'm saying? So if nothing else, thanks Valve, we noticed she's very bloomy, thank you. Next, we have The Lab. It's another tech demo, and I'm only really putting it here purely just because I kinda like the minimalism of it. The stick figure art style kinda reminiscent of the Portal trailers and demonstrations that they would have, except now it's for the official game, or should I say tech demo cover art. It's nice, it's simple, it's clean, but it's not really gonna make people raise their eyebrows and say, ooh, that looks cool. Next up, Artifact. Now this one, I would actually want to put it a little higher on the list, purely because if you looked at the picture of the Artifact box cover in full, like if you really zoom in, it's actually a really nice looking piece of art. It kind of reminds me of Howl's Moving Castle in a way, which I think was by design. Combine that with the fact that there's a slight purple color to the background. When you take all the pieces together, it is a good cover art. It just sucks when you zoom out and all the details get lost because, well, it's kind of hard to make out some of the finer details because there's not a character on screen, it's a building. And number two, as much as I like the aesthetic of the poster, what does this have to do with Artifact? Artifact is a card game. This might show some of my ignorance because I've never actually played Artifact, but I've seen some of the other alternate posters for Artifact, and these other ones would have done a much better job serving as the box cover art for these games. So with Artifact, I'm forced to put it in B tier. However, if it wasn't associated with the game, I would put it higher up. Next up, Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. Not a lot of people played this game, understandably, but I'm only putting it a little higher than everything else in this tier list so far because in the cover art, it captures the essence of what a Half-Life 2 Deathmatch is perfectly by the mere fact that the dude is chucking a toilet at the other dude. It's perfect. That's all you need. Fuck, I'm sold. It just kind of sucks that they didn't use Gordon or a more iconic Half-Life character in the poster. Like, they could have swapped out this civilian soldier with Gordon chucking a toilet at, I don't know, G-Man or something, and it would have been a lot better. So, missed opportunity, however, the essence is there, and I like that. High B tier. Next up, Day of Defeat Source. Now this one is doing a lot better compared to the other Day of Defeat poster, purely because it captures the two sides, purely just because of the split in the color, the Axis versus the Allies, red versus white. It's clean, it's very minimalistic, and of course, posters like this has been done 1,000 times of one side or the other. But I guess in this case, I just really like it because it's clean, it's simple. I don't really think it needs much else to be said, so top of B tier. Following that, we have A tier, and at the bottom of A tier, we have Half-Life 2 Episode 2. I love this poster so much because we have Gordon side-eyeing the fuck out of the hunter in the background. He's thinking to himself, yeah, that's right, I saw you. You plowed my girl. I'm gonna get revenge. Little side tangent. I just find it very funny how the Half-Life 2 posters, other than Episode 1, have this fixation of the cameraman just really zooming into Gordon's face. In Half-Life 2's poster, it does that. It zooms really close to Gordon's face. And in this one, it's like right up there, to the point that Gordon's already like out of frame with how zoomed in the cameraman is. Or, conversely, maybe Gordon is taking this picture. Maybe he's taking a selfie, you know? You caught him in the middle of his mewing session, you know? He's on that grind. He's gotta get that Alex pussy. Poster's cool. Shows a new enemy type at the back, even though at the end of the day, the hunter isn't really that big of a threat in terms of the Half-Life games and universe in general. I don't know why Gordon and Alex are running away. It's really not that dangerous, come on. Cool poster, bottom of A tier. Next up, Dota 2. Oh, now this one is good because I have bias on my side for this one. Dota 2 has had multiple different posters in the past, but for this one I'm going to be using this specific poster because this is the one being displayed on the Wikipedia page. And it also helps because in my opinion, this one is the cleanest looking one. All these different characters lined up like some, what are we, some sort of Suicide Squad? It's very clean. It looks like they're, I don't know, it kind of looks like the Dota characters are there to greet the player, to to come into heaven. And by heaven, they mean hell, and by hell, they mean welcome to Dota 2. I think it looks good, because one thing I've also noticed is that most of Valve's cover arts don't display a lot of characters in the cover art. Dota Underlords only has 4 characters on screen. The Half-Life 2 Episode 2 has Gordon, Alex, and the Hunter, and, well, Team Fortress has the Heavy, and sure, the other mercenaries are behind him, but it's really way too small for you to make out anything, so Dota 2's poster actually has the most amount of characters on screen. Usually that's a bit of a challenge trying to show off a box cover art with a lot of characters, but I think Dota 2's pulls it off. So, A tier. Next up, we have the Half-Life 1 trilogy games. Half-Life 1, Half-Life Opposing Force, and Blue Shift. And it's just good. They're so unique. It really shows off that 90s video game box cover art vibe perfectly. Specifically, the Half-Life 1 poster. If you saw this in a video game store, it piques your interest almost instantly. It looks like a metal wall that's rusting, with a logo Half-Life embossed on the metal. It's dirty, it's grimy. But then when you flip the CD case or box cover over to the other side and you see all the images and previews and screenshots, you realize, oh damn, this game actually looks incredible. And I think it's that bright orange, or in the case of the other 2 expansions, just the bright colors in general, combined with a striking logo that reels you in. I really like the Half-Life 1 logos, so I'm putting all of these guys in A tier. Next up, we have Portal 2. I like it, I dig it. I'm a Portal fan, however, I'm more on the casual side and I've never really spent that much time on the game, especially Portal 2, but I did finish it and I did enjoy it. And I think Portal 2's box cover art conveys the idea of Portals perfectly. But I just think compared to Portal 1, it could have been a lot better. Not to say that it's bad, but compared to the minimalism, how clean Portal 1's is, it's a little disappointing, or at least not as good. Still A tier though. Next up, Counter-Strike 1.6. Or the original Counter-Strike. Now, I know what I said about the other Counter-Strike games before, how it's generic action guy on the poster, and now normally that wouldn't get me any bonus points. That being said, I'm purely putting this higher on the list because of the legacy behind it. Okay, this is probably the most biased pick in this entire video, but I'm putting Counter-Strike 1.6 all the way up here just because so many people grew up with these 2 doofuses on the main menu. So many people played Counter-Strike, and so many people have these 2 characters, these 2 nameless characters committed to memory. This is purely a case of it's not so much the cover art itself, but more so the game elevating the genericness of the cover art itself, if that makes sense. Listen, to those who have never played Counter-Strike 1.6, don't argue with me. But to those who have played Counter-Strike 1.6, you would definitely understand why I'm putting it all the way up here. Okay, it's a legendary video game box art, and I don't think you're gonna be mad at me at putting it at the higher end of A tier. And then we also got Half-Life 2, just Half-Life 2. I think it's phenomenal. Imagine it's 2004, video game graphics look like this, and then you go to the store and you see this. One thing I've noticed is that older video game box arts love to go for, they want to be colorful, they want to cram in as much stuff as they physically can onto the cover of the box. They gotta put explosions, effects, characters, bold text, logos. But Half-Life 2 didn't do that. It's a very clean looking poster. Sure, Gordon is staring at you seductively with his bring me to bed eyes. I wouldn't call this poster minimalistic because technically it's not, but it's subdued. It has a quiet confidence about it, but it is a very iconic video game box cover art. And that's also rather funny because you never actually see what Gordon looks like, ever. To those who are unaware in the audience, you never see Gordon's face. These 2 video game box cover arts is legitimately the only time you will ever see Gordon's face. It's in promotional images, sure, but this is it. You never see it in game. And I also think the Half-Life 2 box cover art also fed into the other promotional and marketing images of Half-Life 2, which I have brought up in the past. I really like how clean these posters are. The white backgrounds, the foggy atmosphere. It's so clean, I fucking love it, dude. And this came out in 2004. Video games were not like that in 2004. They were all about bombast and like getting in your face. Shit like this did not happen, and I just really appreciate it for that fact. So, top of A tier. And here we go, the final category, S tier. Everything here, in my opinion, is just absolutely goated. These are amazing pieces of art. Doesn't even need to be specifically video games, but these are amazing. First up, Half-Life Alyx. it just instills that sense of awe, you know? Seeing how tiny Alex is compared to this massive Combine wall, and how tiny the text is, how thin the word Alex is. It's definitely on the more generic side, but as far as striking imagery goes, this is up there. So, bottom of S tier. Next up, we have the original Portal game. Now this one was able to achieve what Portal 2 wasn't. It's so simple, it's so easy to understand, and that's what makes it so perfect. Stick figure guy falling into Portal. That's all you need. There's also the benefit of that this poster is basically 3 logos in one. You got the stick figure icon, which became a logo of Portal in of itself. You got the Portal word, and then the circle at the bottom, which is the circle of the portal. You know, in the word, it's good, okay? It's good. I really like this poster. And the next one's Left 4 Dead. Just Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. They're just amazing. And most people would probably put these at the top of their tier lists. If you want to put these at the top of your tier list, I would not blame you. They absolutely could go at the top of not just Valve games, but video game box cover arts in general. It sells the idea perfectly. 4 fingers. 2 in the case of Left 4 Dead 2, but still kind of 4 fingers. But a zombie hand risen up with a thumb bitten out, and the words just labeled there plainly on text, Left 4 Dead, with a striking green or yellow color scheme, although I kind of prefer the green color scheme of Left 4 Dead 1. But it's so good. I remember I had a couple of classmates growing up, and when they saw this, they thought it was either a comic book, or movie, or a TV show, and then no, it was a video game. And they thought that's crazy. They always assumed that video game box cover arts needed to have like the characters on the cover, but no, you can sell the idea with something as simple as a dismembered hand. And it tells you everything that you need to know, from the 4 fingers to the fact that it's a zombie hand. Beautiful. So if you want to put Left 4 Dead at the top of your personal tier list, I don't blame you. But I have 2 other games that I think are more deserving of that spot. And the number 2 spot goes to Counter-Strike 2. Now, I know, everything that I've been giving shit about Counter-Strike in the past, crazy, right? I know, but I'm purely making this choice because I have stared at this image so long making my other videos, and I never realized how intricate the embossing, or like where the characters, the lighting fades away into the background, and the mere fact that the glasses just stick out like they're fucking Cyclops visors. It's bold. It's striking. This is definitely a case of my own opinion. I know some people don't care for this, but I just really enjoy the Counter-Strike 2 poster. Whether they knocked it out of the park with the actual game, no. But as far as the poster is concerned, the box cover art, amazing. It's a shame that, as far as I know, they haven't made any new additions to this, or like any other supplemental art in this style following the initial Counter-Strike 2's release. So it's a little disappointing, but as it is, amazing. And the number 1 spot, of course, Team Fortress 2. Back in the day, people were waiting for a long time for Team Fortress 2 to come out. Back then, the trailers made it seem like the game was going to be this gritty military team shooter game. It was supposed to be realistic. It was supposed to be grounded. Valve then did their typical bullshit of disappearing for a number of years. And then suddenly, trailers come out, and then the game looks like this. You went from gritty realism to cartoon stylized funny haha Pixar shooter. And I think what really allows Team Fortress 2 to shine, even decades after its initial release, and one of the reasons that Team Fortress 2 is still alive and thriving to this day, is because of the characters. And in order for those characters to work so well, they need to have a good first impression. And how much of a better impression can you get than the box cover art? Just by looking at this, you can already tell, oh my god, this game's style and vibe is perfect. The characters, cartoony by themselves, but the fact that they're all carrying guns and they are ready to kill one another in the most brutal and cartoonish ways possible, it's so good. It's so good. Heavy. Heavy is the least popular and least played character in Team Fortress. Out of the 9 classes, he is the least popular, but he is still the face of Team Fortress. And if Gordon Freeman did not exist, Heavy, in my opinion, would be the face of Valve games. If this quiet psychopath did not exist, he would be replaced with the other quiet psychopath. That's how iconic not just Team Fortress and not just Heavy, but this specific box cover art is. It shows that making games stylized like this can really sell, and making games emphasize the character of their games can really push a game's lifespan further than it has any right of, well, persisting. And that is for that reason that I'm putting Team Fortress 2 at the top of my tier list. Apologies if this video is very messy. Like I said, I made a community post some while ago saying that there wasn't going to be any new videos for a while I'm taking this time to recover. And that's still kind of true. I am going to slow down a little bit because, listen, I've just spent almost 2 hours recording this and my mouth is on fire. It is in so much pain. But I wanted to make this video, and I just wanted to see how I would fare with more unscripted and looser videos, if that makes sense. You know, I'm not really abiding to a script much at all. So apologies if this video is a bit of a mess, and apologies if, again, I'm ASMRing a little too much or I'm talking under my breath. My mouth hurts. My teeth hurt. So thank you for watching this video. Do you agree with my choices here? How would you rate Valve and their video game box arts? Let me know in the comment section down below. Anyway, thank you for watching, Internet Wanderer. Do the YouTube things.